Take a breath with me right now. Not the shallow breath of survival, not the hurried inhale of someone chasing a clock, but a sacred breath, the kind that reminds you that you are alive on purpose. The kind that whispers to your cells, you are exactly where you need to be. You did not stumble upon these words by accident. There are no accidents in a universe governed by intelligence. There is only alignment. There is only resonance. There is only the quiet orchestration of something far greater than the ego's plan. And if this message has reached you, it is because something within you is ready, something ancient, something eternal, something that has been patiently waiting for this very moment to say you are closer than you think. The ego will try to measure your life by visible evidence. It will ask, where are the results? Where is the proof? Why hasn't it happened yet? But the soul does not speak in deadlines. The soul speaks in readiness. The soul knows that the oak tree does not apologize for the time it spends as an acorn beneath the soil. It knows that growth is invisible before it becomes undeniable. Consider the seed planted deep in the earth. From the surface, nothing appears to be happening. No movement, no progress, no sign of life. And yet beneath the darkness, there is a sacred bursting open. The shell is cracking, the roots are forming. The foundation is strengthening. The breakthrough begins long before anyone can see it. What if the very silence you have been interpreting as delay is actually preparation? What if the pressure you have been feeling is not punishment, but propulsion? When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Not because of the squeeze, but because that is what was inside all along. The pressure simply reveals the truth. Life is not squeezing you to break you. It is squeezing you to reveal you. And if fear has been surfacing, if doubt has been whispering, if uncertainty has been circling your thoughts, it may not be a sign that you are failing. It may be a sign that the shell of your old identity is cracking. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by improving its crawling technique. It dissolves completely. The very structure that once defined it must fall away. This is the part the ego resists. The ego loves continuity. It loves labels. It loves the familiar story of who you have been. Even if that story includes struggle, even if it includes limitation, at least it is known, and the ego would rather cling to a known discomfort than step into an unknown expansion. But you are not the ego. You are the awareness behind it. You are not the voice that says, I'm not ready. You are the stillness that observes that voice. Imagine the sky. Clouds move through it, dark clouds, storm clouds, bright clouds, scattered clouds. They shift and change and dissolve, but the sky remains untouched. The sky does not argue with the clouds. It does not chase them away. It allows. It witnesses. It remains vast. You are the sky. Your doubts are only clouds. And when you begin to identify as the sky rather than the storm, something remarkable happens. You stop reacting to every passing thought. You stop believing every fearful narrative. You begin to recognize that the turbulence is temporary and the vastness is who you truly are. Breakthrough is not something that arrives from outside of you. It is something that is uncovered within you. The world has conditioned you to believe that success, love, abundance, peace, these are destinations to be reached, that you must strive, compete, and prove your worth to deserve them. But striving is the language of scarcity. Proving is the language of the ego. And comparison is the prison of the soul. The ocean does not compete with its own waves. Each wave rises, crests, and falls in perfect timing. No wave rushes the one before it. No wave resents the one that rises higher. Each is an expression of the same infinite water. You are not a fragment fighting for significance. You are the ocean expressing as a wave. And when you remember this, the urgency begins to soften. The fear begins to loosen. The timeline begins to dissolve. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are unfolding. There is often a sacred turbulence before transformation. Think of the moments before dawn. The darkness feels thickest just before the first light pierces the horizon. Think of the contractions before birth. The intensity builds before new life emerges. Think of the storm that clears the air and nourishes the soil. If your life feels intense right now, if you feel stretched beyond comfort, if old patterns are being challenged, it may not be a sign of collapse. It may be the sacred threshold of expansion. The ego interprets discomfort as danger. The soul recognizes it as growth. And here is a truth that can change everything. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are aligned with. If you are aligned with fear, you will see obstacles. If you are aligned with scarcity, you will see lack. But if you align with trust, with gratitude, with the knowing that you are already whole, you begin to resonate at a different frequency, and life responds. Everything is energy. Every thought is a vibration. Every belief is a signal. The universe does not respond to your words as much as it responds to your state of being. So the question is not, when will my breakthrough arrive? The question is, who am I being right now? Are you being someone who trusts or someone who doubts? Are you being someone who allows or someone who resists? Are you being someone who knows their worth or someone who seeks validation? Your external reality is an echo. It reflects the internal voice you have been rehearsing. And if you have been rehearsing the story of limitation, forgive yourself, truly. There are no justified resentments, not even toward yourself. The past exists only as memory. It has no power except the power you continue to give it. You cannot step into a new future while clutching an old identity. Perhaps the version of you that survived was built on caution, on hyper-awareness, on self-protection. Perhaps that version of you was necessary. Honor it, thank it. But do not confuse survival with destiny. The identity that helped you endure is not necessarily the identity that will help you expand. There is a doorway before you now. You may not see it with your eyes, but you feel it in your spirit. It is the doorway between who you have been and who you are becoming. And standing at that doorway can feel terrifying, because on one side is familiarity, even if it is uncomfortable. On the other side is vastness, even if it is unknown. Many people turn back at this threshold. They interpret the racing heart as a warning instead of a calling. They interpret the shaking as weakness instead of activation. But what if the fear you feel is not telling you to retreat? What if it is telling you that you are about to expand beyond every previous limitation? If you can feel that something is shifting, it already is. Intention is not about forcing outcomes. It is about aligning with essence. When you live from I will be happy when, you postpone your power. But when you live from I am, you activate it. I am ready. I am worthy. I am aligned. I am guided. I am is not just a phrase. It is a declaration of identity. And identity precedes manifestation. You do not wait to feel confident until success arrives. You embody confidence, and success follows. You do not wait to feel abundant until money appears. You embody abundance, and opportunities align. The wave does not wait to see if the ocean approves before rising. It rises because rising is its nature, and it is your nature to expand. You have been waiting for a sign. Let this be it. You have been waiting for clarity. Let this breath be it. You have been waiting for permission. Let this moment grant it. The breakthrough you seek is not a future event. It is a present realization. It is the realization that nothing was ever missing, that the delays were divine choreography, that the challenges were sculpting strength, that the silence was preparing sound. You are not becoming worthy. You have always been worthy. You are not moving toward wholeness. You have always been whole. The journey was never about acquiring something new. It was about remembering something eternal. And as you stand here, breathing, aware, present, something within you is settling. The urgency is dissolving. The comparison is fading. The old narrative is loosening its grip. You are beginning to see that the breakthrough was never outside of you. It was the moment you stopped identifying with limitation. It was the moment you recognized yourself as the sky rather than the storm, the ocean rather than the wave, the light rather than the shadow. There is nothing to chase, nothing to prove, nothing to force. Only alignment, only remembrance, only being. So if you see this message, if these words resonate in the quiet chambers of your heart, take it as confirmation. You are not at the beginning, you are not at the end, you are at the unfolding. And the unfolding is sacred. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the truth of this. I am not behind. I am not late. I am not broken. I am not limited. I am expanding. I am guided. I am supported. I am the breakthrough. And when you open your eyes again, the The world may look the same. The circumstances may appear unchanged, but something within you has shifted. And that internal shift is the axis upon which all external change rotates. Trust it. Trust yourself. Trust the invisible roots forming beneath the soil of your life, because the bloom is closer than you have ever imagined. Yes, let us continue. And this time, let us deepen the arc, not by adding noise, but by adding gravity. Not by intensifying drama, but by balancing shadow and light, contraction and expansion, because every true breakthrough carries both. You see, a transformation that feels real must pass through tension. A breakthrough without contrast feels hollow. A sunrise without night would go unnoticed. And so if you are closer than ever, it is natural that part of you feels both hope and hesitation at the same time. This is plot balance in the story of your awakening. Because every hero's journey includes a moment where the old self fights for survival. You may have noticed this already. Just when you began to feel stronger, doubt resurfaced. Just when clarity arrived, confusion whispered. Just when peace settled in, something unexpected stirred the waters. This is not regression. This is integration. The ego does not disappear quietly. It negotiates. It bargains. It creates dramatic narratives to convince you that expansion is unsafe. It says, stay small, stay familiar, don't risk disappointment. But here is the truth that shifts everything. The ego fears dissolution, not danger. When the caterpillar begins to dissolve inside the cocoon, it could interpret the experience as death. Everything it once knew is disappearing. Its body liquefies. Its identity dissolves. If it had a voice, it might scream, something is wrong, but something magnificent's happening. You are not being undone. You are being reformed. Plot balance means we honor the shadow as much as the light. So let us not pretend that awakening feels like constant bliss. It does not. Awakening feels like clarity colliding with conditioning. It feels like standing between two worlds, one foot in who you were, one foot in who you are becoming. And this middle ground can feel unstable. It can feel lonely, because when you begin to rise beyond old identities, some relationships may shift. Old conversations may no longer resonate. You may feel as though you are outgrowing environments that once felt like home. Do not interpret this as loss. Interpret it as recalibration. The ocean does not apologize when the tide changes. The tide moves because movement is natural. Expansion is natural. Growth is natural. And yet, balance requires compassion. So if part of you grieves the old version of yourself, allow that grief. If part of you feels nostalgia for simpler times, honor it. If part of you feels fear of stepping into your full power, sit with it gently. Because true transformation is not violent. It is patient. It is rhythmic. It breathes. There is a sacred tension between surrender and intention, between allowing and choosing, between faith and action. Plot balance means you do not swing into passivity and call it trust, nor do you swing into force and call it ambition. You stand centered. You choose alignment, and then you allow life to respond. You act from inspiration, not desperation. You speak from truth, not from performance. You move from clarity, not from panic. And when obstacles appear as they will, you no longer interpret them as signs to quit. You interpret them as invitations to strengthen your inner posture. Breakthrough energy does not eliminate challenge. It changes your relationship to it. A storm on the ocean's surface does not disturb the depths below. And when you identify with the depths, you can navigate the storm without becoming it. Plot balance also means recognizing that you are not meant to leap into your next chapter with reckless speed. Some doors open slowly because your nervous system must expand to hold the new reality. If abundance arrived before you felt worthy, you would sabotage it. If love arrived before you healed, you would mistrust it. If opportunity arrived before you trusted yourself, you would shrink from it. So divine timing is not withholding, it is preparing. You are being stretched to match what is already aligning for you. And here is the subtle turning point, the place where the plot pivots. Instead of asking, when will it happen? Begin asking, who must I become to sustain it? Instead of chasing the breakthrough, embody the version of you who has already crossed the threshold. How does that version think? How does that version respond to setbacks? How does that version speak about themselves? Plot balance means the internal shift must equal the external expansion. Because if the container remains small, the blessing cannot stay. And so this stage of your life, the uncertainty, the tension, the refining, is not wasted time. It is structural reinforcement. It is emotional muscle building. It is spiritual maturity. You are being shaped into someone who can hold more love without fear, more abundance without guilt, more visibility without insecurity, more success without losing humility. And yes, there may be moments when you question everything. That questioning is healthy, because blind positivity is not awakening. Awareness is. You do not deny fear, you observe it. You do not suppress doubt, you witness it. You do not shame your hesitation, you breathe through it. And each time you choose awareness over reaction, the plot moves forward. Each time you choose trust over panic, the breakthrough comes closer. Each time you choose I am over what if, the timeline accelerates. But remember, acceleration does not always look like speed. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like rest. Sometimes it looks like stepping back so that the next step forward is intentional. You are not meant to exhaust yourself into expansion. You are meant to align yourself into it. Plot balance requires integration of power and softness. You are powerful, but you are also human. You are divine, but you are also embodied. You are infinite, but you are also learning. And the harmony of these truths creates stability. If you feel like everything is intensifying lately, it may be because the story is reaching its turning point. The tension builds before the release. The heart races before the leap. The silence thickens before the revelation. And if you are still here, still breathing, still seeking truth, still willing to grow, then understand something profound. You would not be feeling this expansion if you were not ready for it. The soul does not initiate evolution prematurely. You are stronger than you were, wiser than you were, more aware than you were. And awareness is the true breakthrough. Because once you see the ego's patterns, they lose their authority. Once you see scarcity as a belief, it loses its grip. Once you see fear as a story, it loses its control. And what remains? Choice, conscious choice. You can choose alignment. You can choose presence. You can choose to trust the unseen. You can choose to act from the version of you that already knows. This is the balanced path. Not dramatic, not chaotic, not rushed. Grounded, aware, deliberate. The breakthrough is not a fireworks display. It is a quiet internal certainty. It is waking up one day and realizing that the old triggers no longer ignite you, that the old fears no longer dictate your decisions, that the old doubts no longer dominate your mind. It is subtle, but it is irreversible. And when that subtle shift stabilizes within you, the external world begins to rearrange itself accordingly. Opportunities appear that match your new self-concept. Relationships reflect your new standards. Doors open that once seemed invisible. Not because the universe suddenly noticed you, but because you finally noticed yourself. Plot balance is complete when the internal and external are in harmony. When who you are inside no longer contradicts what you desire outside. And so if you see this message now, if you feel both the tension and the hope, recognize the sacred equilibrium you are standing in. You are no longer who you were, but you are not yet fully expressed as who you will be. This is the bridge. And bridges are not destinations. They are transitions. Walk it with awareness. Walk it with patience. Walk it with trust. Because on the other side of this, integration is not a different life. It is the same life seen through awakened eyes. And that changes everything. You are not simply moving toward a breakthrough. You are stabilizing into one. And stabilization requires balance. There is a moment in every awakening where inspiration is high, clarity feels electric, and you sense that you could leap into an entirely new reality overnight. That surge of energy is sacred. It is the soul reminding you of its vastness. But plot balance asks something more refined of you. It asks, can you hold this expansion without abandoning your center? Because the ego does something subtle when it senses spiritual growth. It tries to appropriate it. It says, now I am more evolved. Now I am ahead. Now I am special. And in that quiet inflation, imbalance begins again. True awakening does not elevate you above others. It returns you to unity with all. The ocean does not become proud of a larger wave. It simply expresses itself in different forms. When you expand, it is not to stand above, it is to stand within presence, within awareness, within compassion. So if you feel stronger now, let that strength be gentle. If you feel clearer now, let that clarity be kind. If you feel ready now, let that readiness be grounded. Plot balance also means honoring rest as much as action. You have lived in a world that glorifies constant motion, hustle, grind, prove, produce. But breakthrough energy does not thrive in exhaustion. It thrives in coherence. Coherence is when your mind, heart, and body move in the same direction. And sometimes coherence asks you to pause, not because you are failing, not because you are stuck, but because integration is occurring. When a muscle grows, it grows in rest. When the soil regenerates, it regenerates between harvests. When the heart heals, it heals in stillness. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. There is a sacred recalibration happening beneath the surface of your life. Old emotional reflexes are softening. Old patterns are loosening their grip. You may not even notice it consciously yet, but your reactions are slower, your awareness quicker. Where you once reacted instantly, now you pause. Where you once spiraled, now you observe. Where you once doubted yourself, now you question the doubt instead. That is growth. And growth is not always loud. Plot balance also asks you to reconcile ambition with surrender. You are allowed to desire more. Expansion is natural. Creation is natural. Vision is natural. But desire without attachment feels different than desire with desperation. When you cling, you contract. When you trust, you expand. The ego chases outcomes to validate identity. The soul expresses identity and allows outcomes. So instead of striving to get there, anchor into I am here, I am capable, I am guided, I am enough right now. And from that sufficiency, action becomes inspired instead of anxious. There is another subtle tension that must be balanced: confidence and vulnerability. As you approach breakthrough, you may feel stronger in your boundaries, clearer in your voice. You may find yourself saying no where you once said yes. You may feel less willing to tolerate what drains you. That is healthy. But balance asks that you do not close your heart in the process. Strength does not require hardness. Clarity does not require coldness. Boundaries do not require bitterness. The strongest trees are flexible in the wind. They bend without breaking. And as you step further into alignment, let flexibility accompany conviction. Now here is where the plot deepens. You may begin noticing that not everyone celebrates your expansion. Some may misunderstand your change. Some may project their discomfort onto your growth. This is not a signal to shrink. It is a signal to stabilize. If your sense of self still depends on external approval, growth will feel fragile. But when your sense of self is anchored internally, external reactions lose their authority. You do not need everyone to understand your evolution. You only need to remain aligned with it. And alignment feels calm. Not frantic, not defensive, calm. Plot balance means that even as doors open, you remain centered. Even as recognition comes, you remain humble. Even as opportunities appear, you remain discerning. Not every open door is aligned. Not every opportunity is destiny. Not every invitation is expansion. Your breakthrough is not about saying yes to everything. It is about saying yes to what resonates. You are refining your discernment. And discernment is the quiet power of maturity. There is a deeper layer unfolding now. As you stabilize into this new awareness, you may begin to feel a subtle grief, not for what you lost, but for how long you doubted yourself, for how long you believed you were behind, for how long you measured your worth by external milestones. Let that grief move through you gently. It is the shedding of illusion. Forgive the version of you who did not yet know what you know now. That version was doing the best it could with the consciousness it had. There are no justified resentments, not toward others and not toward your past self. Resentment anchors you to old timelines. Forgiveness frees you into new ones. And forgiveness does not mean approval. It means release. You are releasing the need to replay old narratives. You are releasing the need to prove your value. You are releasing the identity of the struggler. Not because struggle made you weak, but because you no longer need it to define you. Plot balance reaches harmony when you realize this. The breakthrough is not the event. It is the identity shift. It is the moment you stop seeing yourself as someone trying to get there and start seeing yourself as someone who already belongs. Belongs in abundance, belongs in love, belongs in peace, belongs in purpose. Belonging is not earned, it is remembered. And as you remember, something quiet but powerful settles inside you. You stop chasing, you stop comparing, you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. You begin listening instead. Listening to intuition, listening to your body, listening to the subtle guidance that has always been there. The soul always whispers. It never shouts. And when you are balanced, when fear is acknowledged but not obeyed, when ambition is present but not desperate, when rest and action move in rhythm, that whisper becomes unmistakable. You are closer than ever. Not because circumstances are perfect, not because challenges have vanished, but because your inner posture has changed. You no longer collapse under uncertainty. You no longer abandon yourself in discomfort. You no longer define yourself by delay. You are stable in becoming, and stability is what allows expansion to last. So if the plot of your life feels intense right now, if tension and clarity coexist, understand that this is narrative symmetry. The old chapter is closing. The new chapter is forming, and you are standing in the hinge between them. Stay steady. Stay aware. Stay open. Because breakthrough is not a sudden explosion. It is a gradual awakening into who you have always been, balanced, grounded, expansive, free. And you are already living it. There is a quiet place within you that has never worried about a single thing. It has never lost sleep over a bill, never trembled at the thought of rejection, never replayed yesterday's mistakes or rehearsed tomorrow's catastrophes. It is the still, silent awareness behind your thoughts. It is the witness to your fears. It is the presence that was there before you had a name, before you had a story, before you learned to call yourself inadequate or successful, broken or whole. And that presence, that silent awareness, does not worry because it knows. You have been taught to believe that worry is responsible, that anxiety is necessary, that fear is a sign of intelligence. But what if I told you that worry is simply a habit of the ego, a conditioned response from a mind that has forgotten its source? What if I told you that the very energy you spend worrying is the same energy that could be used to create miracles? Worry is a prayer for what you do not want. Think about that. Every time you worry, you are placing your attention on an outcome you fear. You are energizing it. You are watering it. And because everything in this universe responds to attention, you are collaborating with the very reality you hope to avoid. The ego calls this preparation. The soul calls it forgetfulness. The ego says, if I don't worry, something bad will happen. The soul whispers, if you keep worrying, you will miss the miracle. You are not here to control the world. You are here to align with it. And alignment does not come through tension. It comes through trust. Imagine the ocean for a moment. On the surface, there are waves, some gentle, some violent. The waves crash and roar and foam, and if you identified yourself as a wave, you would live in constant fear of breaking apart. You would compare your height to other waves. You would dread the shore. But you are not the wave. You are the ocean. The vast, depthless, infinite ocean beneath the movement. Worry is what happens when you believe you are only the wave. Giving it to God is remembering you are the ocean. You say, but how do I stop worrying? My problems are real. Yes, your circumstances may be real in the physical sense. Bills must be paid. Illness must be faced. Relationships may end. But the suffering you attach to these events is optional. It is born from resistance. It is born from the belief that life should obey your script. What if instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you asked, what is this trying to teach me? What if you trusted that there is an intelligence operating in your life that sees further than you do, that knows what your limited perspective cannot yet grasp? The ego is terrified of surrender because it equates surrender with defeat. But surrender is not giving up, it is giving over. It is placing your burdens into the hands of something greater than your limited intellect. It is saying, I do not need to solve this alone. You were never meant to. There is a field of infinite intelligence that breathes through you. The same force that beats your heart without your command, that digests your food without your supervision, that orchestrates galaxies without your input. And yet, you believe that your small, anxious thoughts are necessary to keep your life from collapsing. Look at the absurdity of that. When you were in your mother's womb, you did not worry about oxygen. You did not strategize how to grow fingers. You trusted life because you were life. That same intelligence has not left you. It has simply been drowned out by the noise of fear. The mind loves to predict disaster. It scans for threats. It builds scenarios. It rehearses pain. And in doing so, it keeps you from inhabiting the only moment that ever exists, the now. Worry lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. God lives in the present. To give it to God is to return to now. Right now, in this breath, are you safe? In this exact moment, before the next thought arises, is there anything lacking? Notice how the body softens when you come here. Notice how the heart slows when you stop chasing imagined futures. The ego feeds on what if. The soul rests in what is. You say, what if I fail? And I ask you, what if you don't? You say, what if I lose everything? And I ask you, what if losing everything reveals what can never be taken? You say, what if it doesn't work out? And I ask you, what if it works out in ways you cannot yet imagine? The ego demands certainty before action. The soul offers faith before evidence. Faith is not blind belief, it is inner knowing. It is the quiet conviction that life is not random, that there is an order beneath the chaos, that there is a wisdom guiding you even when you cannot see the map. Have you ever noticed how often the things you once worried about never came to pass? And the challenges that did arise were not the ones you rehearsed? Worry is almost always wrong. It is a poor prophet and a cruel master, and yet you return to it as though it were a loyal friend. What if instead you befriended trust? Trust does not mean you become passive. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. It means you take steps guided by intuition rather than driven by fear. It means you do what you can and release what you cannot. There is a powerful affirmation that shifts everything. I am willing to release this to a higher power. Say it slowly. Feel it. I am willing to release this to a higher power. Notice the word willing. You do not have to feel perfectly calm. You do not have to eliminate every trace of fear. You only need willingness. Willingness opens the door. Willingness invites grace. When you give your worries to God, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are acknowledging partnership. You are saying, I will show up. I will do my part. And I trust that the rest is being handled by an intelligence far greater than my limited thinking. Think of the sky. Storms pass through it. Thunder shakes it. Clouds darken it. But the sky itself is never harmed. Your awareness is the sky. Your worries are the weather. Why identify with the storm when you are the vastness in which it appears? The ego thrives on control. It wants guarantees. It wants to manipulate outcomes. It wants applause and security and validation. And when it cannot secure these, it worries, it panics, it tightens. But the more you tighten, the more life slips through your fingers. Have you ever tried to hold water in a clenched fist? It escapes. But when you open your hand, it rests there naturally. Surrender is an open hand. There is a deeper question beneath every worry. It is this: do I trust life, not intellectually, not philosophically, but truly, in your bones, do you trust that you are supported? You are not a mistake. You are not an accident drifting through an indifferent universe. You are an expression of the same creative intelligence that spins planets and blooms flowers. That intelligence did not bring you here to abandon you, but you must meet it halfway. When fear arises, and it will, do not fight it. Do not judge yourself for feeling it. Simply notice it. Say, here is worry again. And then gently place it into the hands of the divine. Visualize it dissolving. Imagine it being carried by a current far stronger than your anxious thoughts. This is a practice, not a one-time event. The ego will return. It always does. But each time you choose trust over tension, you weaken its grip. There is freedom in realizing that you do not have to orchestrate every detail of your existence, that you can breathe and allow and receive. Consider the orange. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Not apple juice, not grape juice, only what was inside. When life squeezes you, and it will, what comes out? If worry comes out, it is because worry was within. If faith comes out, it is because faith was cultivated. You cannot control the squeezing. But you can choose what you store inside. Fill yourself with trust, with affirmations, with reminders of your connection to something eternal. And when pressure comes, what will flow is calm strength. You say, but I've always been a worrier. That is a story, a label, and you are not your labels. You are not your past patterns. You are the awareness capable of observing them. And what you can observe, you can change. Begin with small acts of surrender. When you catch yourself replaying a conversation, say, I release this. When you find yourself predicting disaster, say, I choose trust. When your body tightens, breathe and whisper, I am supported. Worry contracts. Trust expands. Notice which one feels like your true nature. There is a profound humility in giving it to God. It is the recognition that your vision is partial, that there are threads being woven that you cannot yet see. Sometimes what appears as loss is redirection. Sometimes what appears as delay is preparation. If you had received everything you once demanded, would you be who you are now? Or were there closed doors that protected you? Were there detours that shaped you? The ego sees obstacles. The soul sees curriculum. Life is not happening to you. It is happening for you. And when you truly absorb this, worry begins to dissolve. This does not mean you become indifferent. It means you become anchored. You care deeply, but you are not consumed. You act decisively, but you are not frantic. You love fully, but you do not cling. To give it to God is to remember that you are not alone in the unfolding of your story, that there is a co-creator within you, guiding you through intuition, through synchronicity, through subtle nudges. Have you ever had a moment when everything aligned unexpectedly, when the right person appeared at the right time, when a solution emerged just as you were about to give up? That was not coincidence. That was alignment, and alignment cannot coexist with chronic worry. You cannot receive guidance when your mind is screaming. Silence is the doorway. Stillness is the invitation. In quiet moments, ask inwardly, what would love do here? And then listen, not to the loud voice of fear, but to the gentle whisper beneath it. Love does not worry. Love trusts. At the end of your life, you will not regret the moment you trusted. You will regret the days you spent anxious over things that never happened. You will see how much energy was lost to imaginary futures. Why wait until then? Right now, you can choose differently. Right now, you can lay your burdens down. You can say, I am done trying to control the uncontrollable. I am done rehearsing pain. I am done doubting the intelligence that created me. Feel the relief in that declaration. You were not designed to carry the weight of the universe. You were designed to participate in its wonder. So give it to God. Give him your fears about money. Give him your concerns about health. Give him your worries about your children, your career, your reputation. Place them all into that infinite field of love and say, I trust you more than I trust my fear. And then watch what happens. You may not see immediate fireworks, but you will feel a shift, a lightness, a spaciousness. And from that space, inspired action will arise naturally. This is the paradox. When you stop obsessing, clarity comes. When you release control, solutions appear. When you surrender the outcome, you often receive something better than what you imagined. Because the ego dreams small, the soul dreams vast. There is an ancient wisdom that says, be still and know. Stillness is not laziness, it is alignment. It is the recognition that the same force that sustains the cosmos sustains you. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine placing every worry into a flowing river. Watch them drift away. Some may try to cling to the shore. Gently nudge them back into the current. You do not need to retrieve them. The river knows where to carry them. You are free to live. Free to laugh without scanning for disaster. Free to love without anticipating loss. Free to create without fearing failure. This freedom has always been available. It was only hidden behind the illusion that you had to manage everything alone. You don't. You never did. And as you walk forward from this moment, let your mantra be simple and powerful. I trust. I release. I am supported. Let those words become your new habit. Let them replace the old mental scripts. Each time worry arises, see it as a reminder to return to faith. Because giving it to God is not weakness. It is strength rooted in humility. It is courage born from connection. It is the ultimate act of remembering who you truly are, not a fragile wave fighting the shore, but the infinite ocean itself. And the ocean does not worry about the tide. It moves in rhythm with a force far greater than itself, yet inseparable from it. You are that rhythm. You are that force. You are that infinite, divine presence expressing itself as a human being. So breathe, release, trust, and live. And as you begin to live from this place of surrender, something extraordinary begins to unfold within you. It is subtle at first, almost imperceptible, like the faint light before dawn. You notice that your breath deepens, your shoulders soften, the constant hum of mental noise grows quieter, and in that quiet, you discover something that has always been there, a presence untouched by circumstance. This presence does not tremble when the phone rings with unexpected news. It does not shrink when the world appears uncertain. It does not bargain or plead or grasp. It simply is. And in its beingness, there is profound power. You have been conditioned to believe that power comes from control, from strategizing every possible outcome, from anticipating every potential threat. But real power is alignment. Real power is knowing that you are an extension of a creative force that cannot be diminished by temporary conditions. Look at nature. The oak tree does not worry about the winter. It does not anxiously calculate how many leaves it might lose. It stands rooted, trusting the cycles. It understands something you have forgotten, that endings are not failures. They are transitions. Worry is what happens when you resist the seasons of your life. There are winters in every human journey. Times when relationships fall away, when finances tighten, when health falters, when dreams seem distant. The ego interprets these as evidence of danger, of loss, of injustice, but the soul sees them as sacred pruning. What if this moment in your life is not a punishment, but preparation? What if the very thing you are asking to be removed is the very thing shaping your strength? When you give it to God, you are not denying your pain. You are transforming your relationship to it. You are saying, I trust that even this has purpose. And in that trust, suffering begins to loosen its grip. There is a remarkable shift that occurs when you stop arguing with reality, when you stop insisting that life should look different than it does. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means clarity. It means seeing what is without layering it with fear. And from clarity, inspired action becomes possible. The ego reacts. The soul responds. The ego panics. The soul pauses. The ego demands guarantees. The soul moves with guidance. You have within you an inner compass that is always pointing toward peace. But worry scrambles the signal. It distorts perception. It convinces you that urgency is wisdom. Have you ever made a decision from fear and later realized it was unnecessary? Have you ever spent days worrying about a conversation that lasted only minutes? This is how the ego drains your life force, by keeping you preoccupied with shadows. But shadows cannot exist without light, and you are the light. When you remember this, the shadows lose their authority. There is a profound statement that can recalibrate your entire nervous system. Nothing is missing. Say it slowly. Nothing is missing. In this moment, you have air in your lungs, a beating heart, awareness, consciousness. The essentials of existence are present. The rest is narrative. The rest is interpretation. The ego thrives on the illusion of lack. It whispers, you don't have enough. You aren't enough. There isn't enough. And from that illusion, worry is born. But abundance is not a quantity. It is a frequency. It is the recognition that you are connected to an inexhaustible source. When you feel disconnected from that source, you attempt to compensate through control, through planning, through mental rehearsal. But when you feel connected, you relax into participation. Life becomes less of a battlefield and more of a dance. And in a dance, you do not control every movement. You respond to rhythm. You trust the music. You allow yourself to be guided. The music of your life is playing right now. Can you hear it beneath the noise of fear? It sounds like intuition, like subtle knowing, like a quiet nudge that says, go this way, or wait, or let go. But worry drowns it out with louder questions. What if this fails? What if they reject me? What if I'm wrong? You are allowed to be wrong. You are allowed to stumble. You are allowed to learn. Perfection is not the requirement for divine support. Imagine a child learning to walk. The child falls repeatedly. Does the loving parent withdraw support, or does the parent watch with patience, knowing that falling is part of mastery? You are that child, and the universe is infinitely patient. But the ego is impatient. It wants immediate certainty. It wants assurance that every step will lead to applause. And when applause is not guaranteed, it chooses worry as a substitute for courage. Yet courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to trust something greater than fear. You are not here to eliminate uncertainty. You are here to expand within it. Consider how much of your life has unfolded without your micromanagement. Your heart beats while you sleep. Your cells regenerate. The earth rotates. The sun rises. You do not supervise these miracles. Why, then, do you believe your anxious thoughts are required to hold your world together? There is a humility in admitting, I don't know how this will unfold. And there is liberation in adding, but I trust that it will. Trust does not guarantee comfort. It guarantees growth. When you surrender your worries, you create space for wisdom to enter. You allow solutions to surface organically. You open yourself to synchronicities that fear would have overlooked. And here is the deeper truth. Worry is often an attempt to avoid feeling. It is easier to think about the future than to feel the present. It is easier to strategize than to sit with vulnerability. But healing begins when you stop running from your emotions and start embracing them with compassion. If you are afraid, acknowledge it. If you are hurt, honor it. If you are uncertain, admit it. Then gently say, I place this in the hands of something greater than me. You are not meant to carry emotional weight alone. There is an unseen support system woven into the fabric of existence. Call it God, call it Source, call it infinite intelligence. The name is irrelevant. The presence is undeniable. You have felt it in moments of awe, in moments of love so profound that time seemed to dissolve, in moments of silence so deep that your identity felt spacious and undefined. That is your true nature. And your true nature is not anxious. The more you align with that nature, the more you realize that worry is a learned behavior, not an inherent trait. It was modeled, reinforced, repeated, but it can be unlearned. Every time you choose surrender over spiraling, you are rewiring your consciousness. You are teaching your nervous system a new pattern, safety and trust. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, life begins to feel different. Challenges still arise, but they do not consume you. Uncertainty still exists, but it does not paralyze you. You move through circumstances with a grounded calm that surprises even you. This is not indifference, it is inner freedom. Inner freedom is the ability to experience life fully without being enslaved by fear of outcomes. And this freedom is available now, not when the bills are paid, not when the diagnosis changes, not when the relationship improves. Now, because freedom is not external, it is a decision. A decision to say, I refuse to let my mind be a factory of worst-case scenarios. A decision to say, I trust the intelligence that brought me here. A decision to say, even if I cannot see the path, I believe it is unfolding. The ego sees life as a series of threats. The soul sees life as a series of invitations. An invitation to grow, to forgive, to release, to expand. You may not control the invitations, but you control your response. And when your response is trust, life opens in ways that fear could never orchestrate. Imagine waking each morning not with a checklist of worries, but with a quiet affirmation, today I walk with faith. Imagine facing difficulties not with dread, but with curiosity. What is this here to teach me? Imagine closing your eyes at night without rehearsing tomorrow's fears, but instead whispering, thank you for guiding me. This is not fantasy, it is practice. And like any practice, it strengthens with repetition. The mind may still attempt to wander into worry. That is its habit, but you are not your mind. You are the awareness observing it, and awareness has choice. When a fearful thought arises, you can engage it or you can release it. You can follow it down a spiral or you can hand it over to something greater. In that moment of choice, your destiny shifts. You are far more powerful than you realize. Not because you can control external events, but because you can choose your internal state. And your internal state is the lens through which you experience everything. If the lens is fear, the world appears hostile. If the lens is trust, the world appears supportive. The events may be identical, the interpretation changes everything, so give it to God not as a last resort, but as a first response. Before the spiral, before the sleepless night, before the endless mental debate, pause and say, I release this, and feel the shift. You may notice resistance, the ego may protest, but if you don't worry, you'll be unprepared. Smile at that voice. Thank it for its attempt to protect you. And then gently choose again. Choose peace. Choose surrender. Choose faith. Because at the deepest level of your being, you already know that you are held, that you are guided, that you are loved beyond measure. You do not have to earn this support. You do not have to prove yourself worthy of it. It is your birthright as a divine expression of life. So lay down the burden. Lay down the belief that everything depends on your anxious vigilance. Lay down the story that says you are alone in this, and step into the quiet, luminous truth that has been waiting for you all along. You are not here to worry your way through existence. You are here to trust your way into awakening. And when you do, when you truly do, the world does not become free of challenges, but you become free within it. And that changes everything.
Knowing it is already done. Just as the seed does not panic in the soil, neither do you panic in the unseen. It is finished. I receive it now, not tomorrow, not next month now, because the only time is now and the only place is within. Say these words while feeling them. That is the only condition. If you speak with doubt, you delay the promise. If you speak with certainty, you collapse time. Do not explain, justify, do not question. Just declare. These words are keys. They unlock what you call impossible, because the moment you say them with faith, the universe moves. You will see the signs. You will receive the message. You will feel the shift, not because you hoped, but because you knew. Let no one talk you out of it. Let no appearance distract you. Let no delay deceive you. Say it again. It is already mine. It is finished. I receive it now, and watch. In one day, it will be done. Every word you speak carries a vibration, a pattern, a command. It may seem like a fleeting sound, quickly vanishing into the air, but its impact is eternal. Words are not just sounds you release. They are seeds you sow, and the field they fall upon is the infinite, fertile ground of your subconscious mind. When you speak, you are not merely communicating with others. You are instructing reality. Each word holds within it the blueprint of an outcome. The moment it is spoken with belief, it is planted in the unseen and begins its silent, inevitable growth. Now consider this. If you speak with frustration, with defeat, with fear, those words do not simply express how you feel. They begin to form the world you will soon inhabit. You are not reporting your experience. You are predicting it. You are not describing the world. You are creating it. Just as a seed contains a tree and potential, so too does a word contain a reality and potential. Say, I am always broke, and that is the crop that will rise in your life. Say, nothing ever works out for me, and watch life bring forth every event needed to confirm your declaration. Not because life is cruel, but because it is obedient, because the subconscious mind does not judge what you plant. It simply brings it to life. If you were to shift, if you were to begin to speak, not from the echo of your past, but from the vision of your desire, everything would change. A new harvest would begin. Speak words of love, and love begins to return. Speak words of abundance, and abundance takes root. Speak words of peace, and your world bends toward calm. There's no magic. This is law, and it is always working, whether you are aware of it or not. You are always planting. The question is, what are you planting? You may walk through the garden of your life today and see disappointment, lack, and confusion. But understand this. Those are yesterday's seeds made visible. Do not curse the garden for producing what you unknowingly planted. Instead, bless it for revealing what was hidden, and begin again, this time with intention. When a farmer sows seed, he does not do so randomly. He selects the seed carefully, knowing that what he puts in the ground will determine what comes out. He tends the soil, waters it daily, and protects it from harm. He never doubts that the seed will grow. He does not dig it up to check. He trusts the process. He knows the harvest must come because he has planted in faith. So must you treat your words. Choose them with care, speak them with conviction, repeat them with joy, and protect them from the weeds of doubt and fear. Every time you say, I am powerful, you water a seed of strength. Every time you say, I am blessed, you nourish a future filled with divine alignment. Every time you say, things always work in my favor, You are laying the bricks of a reality that must rise to match your declaration. It does not matter what the outer world looks like. The soil does not care if the sun is shining or the clouds are overhead. The soil only responds to what has been planted, so too does your life respond to what you consistently say. Speak as if your words are sacred tools, because they are. Speak as though the universe is listening, because it is. Speak not from your history, but from your vision, because the past cannot produce anything new, but your words can. You are the field, your life is the field, and your words are the seeds. Be intentional, be aware, and most of all, believe. Because once spoken with faith, your words must become flesh. There is a secret embedded in creation, one that the world often overlooks. Words alone are not enough. Words are the seed, but feeling is the fertile soil in which the seed must fall. Without feeling, your words are like seeds thrown on concrete. They may be powerful in potential, but they cannot take root. They cannot grow. They cannot become. To speak without emotion is to recite, to repeat, to echo, but not to create. The true creative power lies not just in what you say, but in how deeply you feel it as true. You must embody the energy of your words. You must live inside them emotionally before you ever see them physically. The universe does not respond to empty phrases. It responds to the energy behind those phrases. When you declare, I am wealthy but feel poor, the energy contradicts the language. When you say, I am loved but feel lonely, your subconscious is confused, divided, and it is the feeling that always wins. The subconscious does not respond to surface words. It responds to your inner state. That is the language of the infinite. When you speak as if something is already done and you feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of that truth, something shifts. The outer world may not yet reflect the change, but inside you, a seed has been planted in rich living soil, and that feeling, that inner movement, is the sign that manifestation is already underway. It is not about pretending. It is about assuming. You assume the state of the wish fulfilled. You speak not from hope or desire, but from fulfillment. You say thank you, not because you are wishing to receive, but because you know you already have. Gratitude is the feeling of having, and the moment you truly feel you have, you activate the law of creation. This is why some people repeat affirmations for months with no result. They say the right words, but feel lack. They speak about abundance, but carry fear. They affirm love, but feel unworthy. And so the words remain lifeless, like seeds stored in a drawer, never touching the soil of belief. But when you begin to speak with emotion, when your voice carries the vibration of truth, your words are no longer weak. They become alive. They move mountains. They dissolve resistance. They begin attracting to you the people, situations, and events that match the feeling you now embody. This is why conviction matters. Conviction is not loudness or force. It is inner certainty. When you declare something with a knowing that it already is, life must rearrange itself to reflect that knowing. What you feel deeply and consistently becomes impressed upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious governs everything. It does not argue. It does not reason. It accepts. So if you wish to change your life, change how you feel when you speak. Don't just say, I am healthy. Feel the strength in your body as you say it. Don't just say, I am successful. Feel the calm satisfaction of having already achieved it. Don't just say, I am free. Feel the lightness, the joy, the ease. The stronger the feeling, the faster the manifestation. Feeling is not secondary. It is central. It is the life force behind your word. It is the divine spark that causes the invisible to become visible. So, the next time you speak, pause for a moment, breathe, close your eyes if you must, and feel it. Let the words rise from the core of your being, not just your lips. Speak not from emptiness, but from fullness, from the deep inner place where what you desire is already real. When you do this, when word and feeling become one, you become unstoppable. As then, and only then, do your words take root. And once they do, they grow with divine speed. The only time that truly exists is now. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Yet most people speak and think as if they live in some distant one day, and so their desires remain trapped in that illusion of delay. The creative power of the mind does not operate in the future. It operates in the now. That is why present tense thinking and speaking is not just important, it is everything. When you say, I will have, you have already pushed your desire out of reach. I will be successful. I will find love. I will be healed. These statements sound positive, but they are declarations of absence. You are confirming that right now you do not have, you do not experience, and you are still waiting. And as long as you wait, you delay because your subconscious mind does not understand the future. It only responds to what is felt and believed in this moment. To say, I now have, is to pull the future into the present. It is to embody the end result. You are no longer hoping, wishing, or waiting. You are claiming, and what you claim as yours within a conviction must begin to take form. This is the power of speaking in the present tense. It is not just grammar, it is creation. Your words shape your internal reality, and your internal reality molds the outer world. When you consistently say, I am, rather than I will be, you tell your subconscious, this is who I am now, and the subconscious must act accordingly. It begins shifting your perceptions, your behaviors, your energy, and even the people and situations around you, all to align with what you have accepted as true in the present. To manifest is to occupy a state of being. It's not about chasing after things. It's about assuming you already are the person who has them. That is the secret. You don't become wealthy by saying, I will be rich someday. You become wealthy by saying, I am rich now, and feeling the reality of that will so deeply that your entire being conforms to it, brings it home. The more often you speak from the place of the fulfilled desire, the more naturally your life reorganizes to mirror that inner conviction. You become the cause, not the effect. The creator, not the victim. The origin, not the outcome. So let go of soon. Let go of one day. Let go of I hope to. These are the language of delay. Instead, speak in the now. Live in the now. Declare it now, because now is all you have, and it's also all you need. The present moment is where creation happens. It is the point of power, and the more fully you stand in it, the faster your desires become real. Because once you believe it is already done, the world has no choice but to catch up. The mind is shaped not by what you hear once, but by what you hear repeatedly. Repetition is the chisel that carves new identity into the subconscious. It is not simply the act of saying something over and over. It is the consistent return to a chosen truth until it is no longer questioned. And once that truth takes root, reality begins to obey it. What you repeat becomes impressed. Just as water shapes rock through continual flow, your words shape the landscape of your inner world through continual declaration. The subconscious mind is always listening, always receiving, and always accepting what is said with emotion and persistence. It does not argue. It does not reason. It simply says yes to whatever is repeated with feeling. You repeat, lack becomes your experience. If you repeat fear, fear begins to govern your world. But if you repeat love, abundance, success, wholeness, those states begin to dominate. Not because you force them into existence, but because you impress them deeply enough that the subconscious begins to express them effortlessly. You see, the first time you say, I am powerful, your conscious mind may resist. You may feel like you're lying. You may feel doubt or conflict. But if you say it again and again and again, while breathing, while relaxing, while imagining it as true, the resistance begins to dissolve. The statement becomes less foreign, less strange, and eventually it begins to feel natural. That shift, that sacred moment when the affirmation no longer feels like a wish, but like a fact is the moment manifestation begins. This is why you must be persistent, not frantic, not forceful, but faithful, steady, calm, like a sculptor returning each day to the same block of marble, trusting that each touch reveals more of the form within. Every repetition is a movement deeper. Every word spoken again is a step closer to embodiment. Do not be discouraged if nothing appears to happen at first. Repetition works beneath the surface. You are rewiring pathways, shifting patterns, building a new self-concept. And once your subconscious accepts a new truth, life adjusts to fit it, not by magic, but by law, the law of consciousness, the law of assumption, the law of identity. And this is the sacred reason repetition matters, because your outer life cannot exceed the boundaries of your inner belief. You cannot live above the truth you hold inside. So if you wish to rise, you must elevate what you repeat. Speak only what you want to see, declare only what you choose to become, and do it again and again until you no longer need to remind yourself, because it will have become who you are. The mind learns by rhythm, the body responds to pattern, the spirit awakens through remembrance. So remember who you are daily, return to your truth hourly, whisper it in silence, declare it in stillness, speak it before sleep, affirm it upon waking, and do not grow weary, for the harvest is certain. You are reprogramming the most powerful creative force in existence, your imagination, your belief, your identity. Do not underestimate the quiet power of repetition. It has built empires, it has changed lives, it has transformed ordinary minds into channels of the divine. One thought, returned to consistently, can rebuild a lifetime. One phrase, spoken with conviction each day, can shift the course of your destiny. So speak what you choose to be, and keep speaking it until the world has no choice but to echo your inner truth, because what you repeat becomes impressed, and what is impressed must be expressed. The greatest battle is not with the world outside of you. It is with the story you keep telling yourself. The one you repeat in your mind, in your conversations, in your inner dialogue, that story becomes your life. And if you want to change your life, you must silence the old and boldly declare the new. Stop rehearsing the old story. Stop justifying your limitations, explaining your pain, or repeating what went wrong. Every time you speak of what hurt you, what failed, what they did, what you lost, or why it's difficult, you breathe new life into a reality you are trying to leave behind. The old story cannot go if you keep inviting it. Let it be silent. Not because it didn't happen, but because it no longer defines you. You do not grow by analyzing what went wrong. You grow by announcing what is now right. You do not heal by circling the wound. You heal by imagining the wholeness. The more you entertain the old identity, the more you remain bound by it. So stop giving it your voice. Stop explaining it. Stop defending it. Silence it. And then declare the new. Declare it not as a hope, not as a wish, but as an unshakable truth. Speak it as though it were already real. Say, I am chosen. Say, I am successful. Say, I walk in abundance. Speak it with no hesitation, no apology, no explanation. You are not here to argue with the facts of the old life. You are here to create the truth of the new one. And truth, when spoken with authority, rearranges reality. Do not argue with your current conditions. They are not permanent. They are only echoes of your previous beliefs. Do not plead with them. Do not resist them. Acknowledge them if you must, but then rise above them. Speak as if the new world is already here, because in the realm of consciousness it is. You must learn to speak as the person you are becoming, not as the one you have been. This is not pretending, it is creating. The power is not in what you see, but in what you declare. Every word you speak is a mold into which life must pour itself. So choose your words as if they are law, because they are. Your word is law in your world. You are not a reporter of life. You are not here to describe what is. You are here to decide what will be. The moment you stop repeating the old narrative and begin to claim the new one, your mind begins to shift, your body begins to respond, and the world begins to align. You do not have to explain how it will happen. You only have to believe that it is. Your authority comes from your imagination. Your power lies in your ability to feel the unseen and speak it as reality. This is how mountains move. This is how timelines shift. This is how the impossible becomes the inevitable. So silence the old, let it fall away without a fight. You owe no loyalty to the version of yourself that was surviving. You are not here to maintain the familiar. You are here to manifest the divine. Declare what is true for you now. Declare it daily. Declare it boldly. Declare it until the world forgets the old you ever existed. There is only one voice that must be heard, yours. The voice that does not tremble, that does not beg, that does not delay. The voice that commands, that claims, that creates. That voice is yours, and when you speak the new story, when you hold it like a sword in the face of doubt, when you refuse to retreat into what was, everything begins to change. Not someday, but now, because nothing is more powerful than a mind that has decided. The old is over and the new is already here. There are words that do more than inspire, words that do more than comfort. There are words that carry creative authority, powerful phrases that, when spoken with certainty, reconfigure the unseen world to reflect your inner command. These are not idle affirmations. They are not mere hopeful phrases. They are spiritual decrees spoken not to beg, but to create. When you speak these words with belief, with presence, with the full weight of your inner conviction, they do not float aimlessly into the void. They land, they take root, and they go to work unseen, rearranging the conditions of your life in silence and in speed. These words act like spiritual blueprints. What you declare with authority, the invisible world begins to build. You must understand that the universe does not respond to your pleas. It responds to your assumptions. It does not obey fear or indecision. It obeys inner authority. That authority is not granted by anyone outside of you. It comes from within, and it is activated through your voice, through what you say and how you say it. There are phrases that ignite change immediately when spoken with faith, phrases like, "It is done." "I now have." "I am." These are not simple statements. They are doorways. Each time you speak them with feeling, you step into a new identity. And when your identity shifts, everything around you must follow. The world always mirrors the state you live from, not the one you wish for, but the one you claim. When you say, "It is done," you are not hoping. It will be done. You are not doubting it might be done. You are commanding, "It is done." This is the language of creation. It leaves no room for hesitation, no space for the old story to linger. It declares the end from the beginning, and it trusts that life will rise to meet the declaration. Words are not weak. Words are not just sounds in the air. They are vibrations that match the frequency of what you call into being. If you say, "I am love," the universe must deliver experiences that reflect love. If you say, "I am successful," even when the outer world looks barren, life begins working behind the curtain to fulfill that inner command. The truth is, most people are speaking words that disempower them. They say, "I can't. I don't know how. Maybe one day." These are not just statements. They are creative orders. Spoken often enough, they become law in the world of the speaker. So if you are going to use your voice, and you always are, use it to build what you want. Train yourself to speak with deliberate power. Do not allow casual language to sabotage your vision. Speak as a master. Speak as a creator. Declare your day before it begins. Declare your abundance before you see it. Declare your healing before it manifests. These are not lies. They are acts of faith, and faith is the evidence of things not seen. The most powerful words are not spoken with force. They are spoken with knowing, with peace, with stillness. You do not need to shout. You do not need to convince anyone. When you know it within, your words carry that silent certainty, and the world obeys certainty. So speak only what you wish to see. Speak it often. Speak it boldly. Speak it quietly if you must, but speak it with belief. And then let go of the how. Let the words do their work. Let them echo into the unseen. Gather what you have called for and return it to you in divine timing. Not because you hoped, but because you knew. There are words that create. Find them, live them, speak them, and watch as your world bends to meet the reality your voice has claimed. When you begin to understand the true power of your world, you will no longer speak carelessly. You will no longer speak from fear, from doubt, or from lack. You will speak with clarity, with faith, and with knowing. Every word you utter becomes a thread in the fabric of your future. Every phrase you declare becomes a seed that grows into form. You have been given the power to create not by force, but by focus. Not by striving, but by speaking. Say only what you desire to see. Feel it is done. Speak it in the present. Repeat it until it becomes your truth. Silence the old story and declare the new. And above all, remember, the words you speak with belief are not hopes. They are laws to the unseen. Now go. Speak as the one who knows it is already theirs, because it is. Thank you. What does it mean to focus on yourself? Most people misunderstand this entirely. They believe it means to look at their flaws, to analyze their shortcomings, to dwell on their problems. But I tell you, this is not focusing on yourself at all. This is focusing on what you believe yourself to be, which is an illusion created by past experiences and limited thinking. To truly focus on yourself means to focus on the God within you. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you. The real you is not this body, not this personality with its likes and dislikes, not this collection of memories and habits. The real you is the God presence animating your being. The real you is infinite consciousness having a human experience. When I tell you to focus on yourself, I am telling you to focus on this divine presence within you. I am telling you to recognize that you are not a man or woman seeking spiritual attainment. You are the Spirit itself seeking expression through the vehicle of your humanity. Let me share with you a simple story. A man came to me once deeply troubled about his financial situation. He had tried everything, working harder, investing wisely, seeking better opportunities, yet he remained in lack. I asked him a simple question: who are you? He began to tell me about his profession, his family background, his education. I stopped him and said, those are things you do and roles you play. I asked who you are. After a moment of confusion, I explained to him that he was approaching his problem from the limited identity he had accepted for himself. He was trying to change his financial situation while maintaining the consciousness of someone who lacks. I told him, instead of focusing on getting more money, focus on being the person who already has abundance, for it is a law that no one can receive what he does not already have in consciousness. Now, how do you focus on the God within? Through the most powerful words in existence, I am. Whatever follows these two words shapes your reality. Most people use these words unconsciously, saying, I am tired, I am broke, I am unlucky, not realizing they are setting these conditions into motion. To focus on yourself truly means to be vigilant about what you attach to your I am. For your I am is your consciousness, and your consciousness creates your reality. This is not positive thinking or affirmations. This is the revelation of your true nature and the conscious use of the creative power that you already possess. When you say I am, you are proclaiming the presence of God. For this is the name God revealed to Moses from the burning bush. I am that I am. You cannot separate yourself from God, for your awareness of being your consciousness is God in action. Therefore, to focus on yourself means to focus on controlling what follows I am in your mind and speech. It means to be aware of the state of consciousness you are occupying moment by moment. Are you dwelling in a state of lack or a state of abundance, a state of illness or a state of health, a state of loneliness or a state of love? Whatever state you occupy, that is what you are calling forth into manifestation. Now let us discuss what it means to shift your energy. Many teach that you must push against negative energy, fight it, overcome it. I tell you that what you resist persists. You cannot fight darkness. With darkness, you can only illuminate it with light. To shift your energy means to shift your state of consciousness. It means to move from one state to another. And how do you do this? Not by force, not by willpower, not by positive thinking. You do it through the wonderful human faculty of imagination. Your imagination is the gateway between the visible and the invisible, between the world of effects and the world of causes. Through your imagination, you can enter any state whatsoever. And once you enter a state and dwell there, it must objectify itself in your outer experience. This is law. Let me tell you a simple technique. When you find yourself in an undesirable state, perhaps feeling anxious or angry or lacking first, you become aware of it. Do not judge it or fight it. Simply observe, I am currently dwelling in a state of anxiety. Then close your eyes and ask yourself, what would it feel like if I were calm and centered? Do not answer intellectually, feel it. How would your breathing change? How would your posture shift? How would the muscles in your face relax? As you begin to feel these sensations, you are shifting your energy. You are moving from one state to another. And as you persist in this new state, the outer world must reorganize itself to match your inner reality. A young woman once told me she had been seeking love for years without success. Every relationship ended in disappointment. I asked her to describe how she felt about herself. She revealed that deep down she felt unworthy of true love. I told her that she could go on 1,000 days, but as long as she dwelled in the state of unworthiness, she would attract experiences that confirm this belief. Instead, I suggested she shift her energy by imagining every night before sleep how it would feel to be deeply loved and cherished. Not visualizing a specific person, but feeling the state of being loved. Within 2 months, she met someone who treated her with the very love and respect she had been imagining. Her outer world rearranged itself to match her new inner state. There is a state I wish to discuss with you that is essential to mastering the art of focusing on yourself and shifting your energy. In Scripture, it is called the Sabbath. Most interpret this the day of the week, but I tell you the Sabbath is a state of consciousness. To enter the Sabbath means to rest from your labors. It means to stop trying to make things happen and instead dwell in the consciousness that it is already done. When God completed creation, He rested not because He was tired, but because the work was finished. There was nothing more to do. When you truly focus on yourself, on the God presence within you, and shift your energy to a desired state, you must then enter the Sabbath. You must rest in the absolute conviction that what you have embodied in consciousness is now a done deal in the invisible realm. And it is only a matter of time before it appears in the visible. Most people sabotage their manifestations because they cannot enter the Sabbath state. They keep checking to see if it's working. They keep trying to make it happen. They keep looking at the absence of their desire in the outer world and then falling back into the old state of consciousness. I tell you, the secret is to persist in your new state until it feels natural to you, and then to rest in the knowledge that the seed has been planted and must, by law, bear fair fruit in due season. This is what it means to truly focus on yourself and shift your energy. Now, there is an aspect of focusing on yourself that many find challenging, and that is detachment from specific outcomes. When I speak of focusing on yourself, I am not suggesting that you focus on getting specific things or achieving specific results. I am suggesting that you focus on being the person who already has the essence of what you desire. For example, If you desire financial abundance, the focus should not be on the specific amount of money or how it will come to you. The focus should be on embodying the consciousness of abundance, feeling the freedom, the gratitude, the security that abundance brings. This is why Jesus taught, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you." The kingdom is not a place, it is a state of consciousness. When you dwell in the right state, when you focus on being rather than getting, the outer forms will take care of themselves. A businessman once approached me desperate for a particular deal that would save his company. He had been pushing, manipulating, worrying about this deal for months. I told him the reason it hasn't manifested is that you are dwelling in the consciousness of desperation and lack. Instead of focusing on this specific deal, focus on embodying the feeling of being a successful businessman with a thriving company. He followed my advice and something interesting happened. The deal he had been pursuing fell through. But within weeks, a much better opportunity presented itself, one that he couldn't have imagined or orchestrated through his own efforts. This is the power of focusing on the state of consciousness rather than the specific outcome. One of the most powerful ways to focus on yourself and shift your energy is to practice what I call living from the end. This means you imagine that you have already achieved your desire, and you live each day from that consciousness. If you desire a loving relationship, you live as though you are already in that loving relationship. How would you think? How would you feel? How would you move through your day? You embody these qualities now, not waiting for the relationship to appear. If you desire greater success in your career, you live from the consciousness of already being successful. You make decisions, speak, and act as that successful person would, not as someone striving to become successful. This is not pretending or deceiving yourself. This is embodying the true nature of reality. What is now appearing in your life is the result of past states of consciousness. The state you occupy now is creating your future. A teacher once came to me unhappy with her position at a small school with limited resources. She wanted to teach at a prestigious institution where she could have a greater impact. I instructed her to mentally construct a scene that would imply she had already achieved this desire. She imagined herself in a faculty meeting at her ideal school, hearing a colleague address her by name and congratulate her on her innovative teaching methods. She persisted in this imagination until it felt completely natural to her. Within 6 months, without any direct action on her, she was invited to interview at one of the very institutions she had desired. The hiring committee told her they had heard about her innovative methods from a mutual colleague. Her inner experience had preceded and created the outer reality. Now, I wish to share with you a powerful technique for shifting your energy when past events seem to hold you in an undesirable state. This technique is called revision. Most people believe that the past is fixed and unchangeable, but I tell you that what you call the past exists only in your consciousness. It has no reality outside of your memory of it, and since it exists in your consciousness, it can be altered. Revision is not denying what happened in the physical world. It is changing your memory and interpretation of the event, which changes its effect on your present consciousness. For instance, if you had a difficult confrontation with someone that left you feeling angry or hurt, you can revise it. Before you sleep, replay the scene in your imagination, but this time see it unfold the way you wish it had happened. Feel the understanding, the harmony, the resolution that you desire. Do this until the revised version feels more real to you than the original memory. What this does is shift your energy from a state of resentment or pain to a state of peace. And since your outer world reflects your inner state, this revised inner experience will create new outer experiences that match it. A client of mine had a strained relationship with his father based on years of perceived criticism and emotional distance. I taught him the revision technique, and he began to revise their interactions each night. In his imagination, he heard his father expressing pride in him, felt the warmth of his father's embrace, experienced the ease of their communication. Within weeks, he noticed subtle changes in their actual interactions. His father seemed less critical, more open. My client realized that by changing his own perception and expectation, by shifting his energy, he had created space for a new relationship to emerge. The past hadn't changed in fact, but it had changed in effect, which is all that matters. The foundation of focusing on yourself and shifting your energy is what I call the law of assumption. This law states that if you assume you are what you want to be and continue in that assumption, that assumption will harden into fact. This is not wishful thinking. This is not pretending. This is understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and whatever stage you occupy in consciousness must objectify itself in your experience. When you truly grasp this law, you realize that there is nothing to change in the outer world. All change must begin within your own consciousness, as within, so without, as above, so below. I had a student who had struggled with poverty consciousness her entire life. Despite having a good education and various opportunities, she constantly worried about money, felt guilty about spending, and believed deep down that financial security was for others, not for her. I taught her to assume the state of financial abundance, not by changing her actions first, but by changing her consciousness. She began to feel the relief, the ease, the gratitude that comes with having more than enough. She embodied this state faithfully, despite no immediate evidence in her outer world. Within 6 months, her financial situation transformed dramatically. An unexpected promotion, an inheritance she knew nothing about, and opportunities to earn additional income all flowed into her life. But more importantly, her relationship with money changed. She no longer lived in fear of lack. She had shifted her energy through the law of assumption, and her world reflected this new state. As we deepen our understanding of focusing on yourself, we must address the fundamental question: who do you believe yourself to be? For your self-concept, your concept of self determines everything in your experience. Most people derive their self-concept from their past experiences, their environment, the opinions of others. But I tell you, your true self-concept should come from within, from your imagination, from your choice of who you want to be. Your self-concept is made up of all the assumptions you hold about yourself. I am intelligent. I am creative. I am loving. I am worthy. These are not affirmations. They are states of consciousness that you can choose to occupy. When you focus on yourself, the true self, not the personality you are focusing on, consciously choosing and embodying the self-concept that serves your highest expression. A young actor came to me frustrated by his inability to land significant roles. He had talent and training, but continued to receive rejections. In our conversation, I discovered that he saw himself as an aspiring actor, someone trying to break in, a person who needs to prove himself. I explained that as long as this was his self-concept, this would be his experience. Instead, I suggested he revise his self-concept to: I am a talented actor in demand. I am someone directors are eager to work with. I am recognized for my unique abilities. He began to embody this new self-concept, not just in auditions, but in every aspect of his life. He walked, spoke, made decisions as this new version of himself. Within several months, his career took a dramatic turn. The roles he was offered changed in quality. The way industry professionals treated him shifted. He had focused on himself, on being the person he desired to be in consciousness, and his outer world rearranged itself accordingly. When you truly understand how to focus on yourself and shift your energy, you begin to operate beyond the limitations of time and space, because consciousness is not bound by physical laws, and consciousness is the only reality. This means that what seems impossible in a three-dimensional world becomes possible in the fourth dimension of consciousness. Distances collapse, time accelerates or slows according to your state, and seeming miracles become natural occurrences. I recall a woman who came to me desperately wanting to reunite with her son, from whom she had been estranged for years. He lived across the country and had explicitly told her he wanted no contact. The situation seemed hopeless from logical perspective. I instructed her to shift her consciousness to a state where reconciliation had already occurred. Each night, she would imagine receiving a phone call from her son, hearing his voice expressing love and a desire to rebuild their relationship. She would feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of this restoration. After faithfully embodying this state for several weeks, something remarkable happened. Her son, with no outward prompting, had a sudden change of heart. He called her on his own initiative, just as he had imagined, expressing a desire to heal their relationship. What could not be accomplished through external effort was effortlessly achieved through a shift in consciousness. This is the true meaning of Jesus' teaching. With men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. God, your own wonderful human imagination, functioning from the depth of your consciousness, knows no limitations. As we explore the art of shifting your energy, we must emphasize the absolute importance of feeling, for it is not your thoughts that create your reality. It is the feeling associated with those thoughts. You can repeat affirmations all day long, But if they are not accompanied by the feeling of their fulfillment, they remain empty words. You can visualize desired outcomes in great detail, but if you cannot feel their reality, they remain distant pictures. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is the creative power. When I speak of shifting your energy, I am speaking primarily of shifting your feeling tone, your emotional state. How do you cultivate the feeling of your wish fulfilled? By using your imagination to construct a scene that implies the fulfillment of your desire, and then stepping into that scene so completely that it provokes the theories you would experience if your desire were already a fact. A physician struggling with burnout came to me seeking a more balanced life. He intellectually knew what he wanted: more time with family, less stress, a more sustainable practice, but he couldn't break free from his schedule and constant exhaustion. I asked him, if you were living that balanced life now, what would be the feeling that would permeate your days? He thought for a moment and said, peace. I would feel peaceful. His assignment was not to change his external circumstances immediately, but to cultivate the feeling of peace, regardless of his outer conditions, to enter the state of peace through his imagination multiple times throughout the day. As he faithfully practiced this, he reported something interesting. Ideas began to come to him, ways to restructure his practice, conversations he needed to have, boundaries he needed to set. But these ideas didn't come from stress or desperation. They emerged naturally from his new state of peace. Within 3 months, the structure of his work had transformed, and the balanced life he had imagined was now his daily reality. This is how true change occurs, not by manipulating externals, but by shifting your feeling state, which then naturally reorganizes the externals to match it. Now, I want to speak to you about the value of focusing on yourself in terms that you might not have considered before. In the scriptures, there is a parable about a merchant seeking fine pearls. When he found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had, bought it. This pearl of great price is the discovery of your own consciousness as the creative power in your life. Most people spend their entire lives seeking outside themselves for the causes of their experiences, blaming circumstances, other people, faith, luck, or God for what happens to them. But when you discover that your own consciousness, your own focus and energy is creating everything you experience, you have found the pearl of great price, and it is worth relinquishing all external seeking to possess this one great truth. When you truly focus on yourself, you are focusing on the only creative power in your universe. When you shift your energy, you are shifting the very substance from which your reality is formed. A gentleman who had attended my lectures for years approached me after experiencing a profound breakthrough. He said, for decades, I've been reading spiritual books, attending workshops, following teachers, always looking for the key to transformation. Now I realize I've been looking in the wrong direction. The key was never out there, it was within me all along. My consciousness is the key. This man had found his pearl of great price. And from that realization, he began to consciously create his life rather than react to it. He focused on himself, not in an egotistical way, but in recognition that the kingdom of heaven is within and his entire experience of life transformed. As you embark on this journey of focusing on yourself and shifting your energy, you must understand that there will be a pruning process. Jesus said, every branch in me that bears not fruit, he take it away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it that it may bring forth more fruit. This means that as you shift to higher states of consciousness, certain elements of your old life may fall away. Relationships that were based on your old state may dissolve. Circumstances that matched your old energy may change or disappear. Habits and patterns that were expressions of your former consciousness may be purged. This pruning is not punishment, it is preparation for greater expression. Just as a gardener prunes a tree not to harm it, but to direct its energy toward more fruitful growth, so too are the elements of your life rearranged as you shift your consciousness. Do not resist this pruning. Do not cling to the old out of fear or familiarity. Trust that what falls away is making room for the new expressions that will match your new state of being. I remember a successful corporate executive who began to shift her consciousness toward greater authenticity and creative expression. As she embodied this new state, she found herself increasingly uncomfortable in her high-paying but unfulfilling role. Eventually, she made the decision to leave her position despite having no clear alternative lined up. Many thought she had lost her mind, but she understood that she was experiencing the necessary pruning that accompanied her shift in consciousness. Within 6 months, she had established her own consultancy doing work that deeply fulfilled her creative needs, and she was earning more than her corporate role. The old had to be pruned away to make room for the new expression of her shifted energy. I want you to consider your consciousness as a symphony. Each thought, each feeling, each state you occupy is like a note in the symphony. When you focus on yourself and consciously shift your energy, you are essentially becoming the conductor of this symphony rather than a passive listener. Most people allow their mental symphony to play chaotically notes of worry, hope, fear, occasional joy, frequent anxiety, and sporadic peace all jumbled together. The result is a discordant experience of reality, but when you take control as the conductor, you can create harmony. You can emphasize certain notes, notes of love, abundance, health, peace, and diminish others. You can establish rhythms and patterns that produce a beautiful life experience. This is not about suppressing negative thoughts or pretending difficulties don't exist. It is about consciously choosing which states of consciousness you will dwell in, which you will give life to through your attention and feeling. I worked with an artist who complained of creative blocks and inconsistent inspiration. When we explored his mental patterns, we discovered that his consciousness was a chaotic mix of self-doubt, occasional confidence, fear of judgment, moments of creative freedom, worry about finances, and brief periods of artistic flow. I taught him to become the conductor of his consciousness, to deliberately enter and sustain the state of creative flow, to give more attention and energy to the notes of confidence and inspiration. As he practiced this, his creative expression became more consistent, more powerful, and interestingly, more financially rewarding. He had harmonized his internal symphony, and his outer life reflected this new arrangement. As we near the conclusion of our discussion on focusing on yourself and shifting your energy, I want to address the spiritual dimension of this practice. For when you truly focus on yourself, on the God presence within you, you are entering into a devoutness. This is not about ego or self-aggrandizement. It is about recognizing you are a unique expression of the divine with the creative power of the universe flowing through you. Your consciousness is not separate from God's consciousness. It is an individualized expression of it. When you shift your energy, when you move from states of lack, limitation, and fear to states of abundance, freedom, and love, you are aligning your individual consciousness with divine consciousness. You are allowing more of God to express through you. This is the true meaning of the scriptural promise. I and my Father are one. You, I am, and the great I am are one and the same. The difference is not in kind, but in degree of expression. I recall a minister who struggled with this concept. Initially, he had been taught that focusing on himself was selfish, that to be spiritual meant to focus only on God and others. But through our discussions, he came to understand that he could not truly serve God or others unless he first recognized and embodied the divine presence within himself. As he began to focus on this inner divinity and shift his energy accordingly, his ministry transformed. His sermons became more powerful, his counsel more effective, his presence more healing. He wasn't focusing on himself in an egotistical sense. He was focusing on himself as a divine expression, a channel through which greater good could flow. This is the invitation extended to each of you to recognize the divinity within you and to consciously partner with it through your focus and energy. This is how you fulfill your highest purpose and contribute your greatest gift to the world. As we bring our exploration to a close, I want to offer you a practical approach to focusing on yourself and shifting your energy in your daily life. I call this the practice of presence. Presence means being fully aware in the present moment, conscious of your state, attentive to the feeling tone you are emanating. Most people move through their days on autopilot, unaware of the states they are occupying moment by moment, unconscious of the energy they are sending forth into the universe. To practice presence, pause several times throughout yourself. What state am I occupying right now? What is the feeling tone of my being in this moment? Is this the state that aligns with my desires and intentions? If you find yourself in an undesirable state, perhaps feeling anxious, resentful, inadequate, recognize that you have the power to shift immediately. Close your eyes if possible. Take a deep breath and imagine you can step into the state you prefer. Feel it, embody it, be it. This practice of presence, of conscious awareness and deliberate shifting, is how you transform your life one moment at a time. It is how you become the deliberate creator rather than the unconscious reactor. A busy mother of 3 came to me overwhelmed by the constant demands of her life. She felt perpetually exhausted, reactive, and disconnected from her inner self. I taught her this practice of presence, to pause throughout her day, become aware of her state, and shift when necessary. She began to notice how often she was in a state of tension and hurry, even when there was no need for it. She practiced shifting to a state of calm-centeredness even amidst the same external circumstances. Within weeks, she reported that while her external situation hadn't changed much, her experience of it had transformed completely. She moved through her days with a sense of peace and presence that affected everyone around her. Her children became calmer, her relationship with her spouse improved, and she found moments of joy in the very same activities that had previously drained her. This is the power of focusing on yourself and shifting your energy. It transforms not only your own experience, but the experience of everyone in your sphere of influence. My dear friends, what I have shared with you tonight is not new. It is the eternal truth that has been taught by the great spiritual masters throughout history, though often hidden in parable and symbol. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you." The Buddha taught, "With our thoughts we make the world," and now in our time we have the opportunity to understand these teachings more clearly than ever before. To focus on yourself means to focus on the divine, creative center of your being. To shift your energy means to consciously move from states of limitation to states of freedom, from fear to love, from lack to abundance. This is not a technique to be practiced occasionally, thinking it is a way of life. It is the deliberate conscious use of the creative power that you already possess, the power that is your very essence. As you leave here tonight, I urge you to begin immediately. Do not wait for circumstances to change before you shift your state. Do not wait for evidence in the outer world before you embody the consciousness you desire. Remember the principle, the inner creates the outer, never the reverse. Focus on yourself, on the God presence within you. Shift your energy to the states that align with your highest vision. Rest in the certainty that what you are conscious of being, you must become. This is law. This is truth. This is your birthright. And now, with deepest respect for the divine being that you are, I bid you good evening, knowing that the seed has been planted, and it must by divine law bear fruit in your experience. For it is done unto you as you believe, and there is no power outside of you that can override your consciousness. You are the master of your destiny, the creator of your life, through the wonderful human capacity to focus your attention and shift your energy. Thank you and good night.